If it costs you your breath, it costs too much. That's the sentence sources say split everything down the middle. Not screamed, not posted, just spoken quietly by a woman who realized her son was slowly disappearing, even while the whole world thought he was winning at life. We all saw the smiling photos, the interviews that felt playful, the jokes that made it sound like everything was light and easy. But while fans were watching a fairy tale, Blake Shelton's mother was watching something much harder to admit. She was watching her son suffocate in silence. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Do you believe love is still love if it slowly drains the person you are becoming? Or does survival always come first? Hold that thought for a second. And if you like stories that go deeper than headlines and actually explain what's happening behind closed doors, make sure you subscribe. Now, let's get back to it. This didn't begin with an unfollow or a deleted post. Those were just the symptoms. The real story started long before anyone noticed, in moments that never made it to social media. People close to the family say Blake's mother noticed the change gradually. It wasn't dramatic. There were no explosive arguments or obvious red flags, just subtle shifts. The way Blake talked about the future, the way he paused longer before answering simple questions, the way his laughter didn't last as long as it used to. Mothers notice those things, even when no one else does. Blake had always been grounded. Oklahoma roots, simple routines, a deep connection to home. But over time, his life began revolving around a world that never really sleeps. Constant movement, constant visibility, constant pressure to perform, not just on stage, but in life. At first, everyone called it growth, compromise, love requiring adjustment. That's what relationships are supposed to do, right? You meet in the middle, you evolve. But what if evolving starts to feel like disappearing? Sources say his mother watched him trade pieces of himself without realizing it. Less time at the ranch, fewer quiet moments, more noise, more distance from the things that once steadied him. And none of it seemed intentional. That's what made it scarier. Then came the hospital scare. The headlines were vague but terrifying. Blake Shelton rushed to the hospital. No details, no explanation, just enough information to make fans panic and refresh their feeds non-stop. People prayed, people speculated, people waited. And somewhere far away from cameras and crowds, a mother was doing the same thing. Except for her, this wasn't entertainment or concern for a celebrity. This was fear, real fear. According to sources, that moment stripped away all hesitation, because when you're forced to imagine life without your child, optics stop mattering. Public opinion becomes irrelevant. Only one thing matters: keeping them alive. Not long before that night, Blake's mother had a private conversation with him. No phones, no witnesses, just honesty. She told him she loved his wife, that she respected his marriage, that she wanted him happy more than anything. But she also told him she was scared. She told him she could see him fading, that she watched him carry a weight he never used to carry, that she saw him losing the version of himself that once felt solid and sure. And then she said the words that changed everything. If she makes you breathe again, choose breathing. That wasn't advice. That was desperation. People say Blake didn't argue. He didn't defend anyone. He didn't explain himself. He just went quiet. And silence in moments like that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Publicly, nothing changed after that conversation. The smiles stayed, the appearances continued. Interviews were light and joking. To the outside world, everything looked fine. But behind the scenes, something had shifted. When the hospital news broke, whatever restraint his mother had left disappeared. Fear has a way of doing that. It makes choices clearer. And that's when she did something no one expected her to do. One unfollow, one follow. No explanation. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't confusion. The timing alone made that clear. It was deliberate. A quiet statement placed where everyone could see it. The internet exploded within minutes. Screenshots spread faster than anyone could control. People compared timestamps, built timelines, created theories that ranged from thoughtful to completely unhinged. But the loudest part of the story wasn't the noise. It was the silence. Because Gwen didn't respond. No statement, no denial, no sarcastic clapback, no attempt to laugh it off. For someone known for being expressive, that silence was deafening. And then there was the message that followed. 4 simple words, familiar, casual, loaded. Love you, Mama Shelton. That didn't sound surprised. It didn't sound confused. It sounded acknowledgement. That was the moment people started looking backwards instead of forwards, rewatching old interviews, replaying clips, studying body language, noticing how Blake's posture changed in certain rooms, how his energy shifted depending on who he was around. Individually, those moments meant nothing. Together, they told a story people weren't ready to see before. Then another detail surfaced, one that made everything feel real. Blake had been spending more time alone at his ranch, the place that grounds him, the place that reminds him who he was before fame and expectations. And according to sources, his wife hadn't been there in months. Not weeks, months. That's not scheduling. That's separation. And separation doesn't happen overnight. It builds quietly, one missed visit at a time. Fans started dividing into sides. Some defended the marriage fiercely. Others said they saw this coming. But something interesting happened in the comments. Mothers started speaking. Not celebrity mothers, regular women. Women who recognized the fear behind the choice. Women who understood what it means to watch your child slowly lose themselves. One comment stood out above the rest. My job as a mother isn't to keep everyone comfortable, it's to keep my child alive. That shifted the entire narrative. This stopped being gossip. It became about something universal. Watching someone you love disappear into a life that looks perfect from the outside, but feels suffocating on the inside. Blake himself hasn't said much, but sources say he's been pulling back, spending more time alone, creating space. Sometimes you need quiet to hear your own voice again. Sometimes the noise gets so loud you forget what your own voice sounds like. Old interviews have resurfaced recently. In one, Blake jokes about feeling lost sometimes, about fame making you forget who you were before everything got complicated. He laughs when he says it, but his eyes don't. You can see it now, the tiredness, the weight, the disconnect. Nothing about this feels sudden anymore. It feels like something that's been building for a long time, waiting for the right moment to surface. People keep asking what happens next. Divorce? Reconciliation? Silence? A statement? But maybe those aren't the real questions. Maybe the real question is this: how long can someone survive in a life that no longer feels like their own? So let me ask you, if you were watching someone you love disappear, would you protect the image, or would you choose breathing? Tell me what you think, because this story isn't over, and something tells me the next chapter won't be quiet at all.